So hi, I'm Danielle Ellbogen. I am a senior program manager at Microsoft, and I work on the Edge web browser. So thank you all for being here so early in the morning, and also for giving me the opportunity to talk to you about how we think about annotating the web over at Microsoft. So back in June, we shipped Windows 10, and with that we shipped a new browser called Microsoft Edge. And one of the features that differentiated our browser from what was out there today was a feature called WebNote. So the WebNote experience is how users can jot down their thoughts directly on web pages. The first version that we shipped was obviously our V1. So there's definitely more that we want to do with this experience. It's an area that we are passionate about and something that we want to continue to invest in. And so today I wanted to speak to all of you about what our point of view was when designing this feature, why we chose to make the decisions that we did, and what we'd like to see moving forward. So first off, we started with our customer promise, and that was, with Microsoft Edge, it is simple and natural to annotate web pages and share them. And so when we started diving into this promise and how we would deliver it, we realized early on that there were some significant challenges. The first one was writing on web pages is a very new concept to users. So when we created new designs and we were starting to get them in front of our users, they were right off the bat confused. They didn't really understand that they could actually write on web pages. Lots of people thought that when they were writing on the web page that the whole world could be able to see what they were writing. So it was very difficult for them to understand what exactly was going on. And then the other one is that web content is constantly updating. So we knew we couldn't just let users write on live web pages, because for your CNN.coms or ESPN.com, or even worse for Facebook or Twitter, these things update daily or every hour. So any notes that you took on the web page, if we didn't actually freeze the content of the web page, would be irrelevant very shortly. And then we also had to consider that note-taking occurs on a variety of devices. So with Windows 10, we ship pen-enabled devices, touch-enabled devices, desktop that had no touch or no pen capabilities, and we also ship phones. So for our V1, we didn't implement it on phones because we ran out of time and resources, but this is something that we still took into account when we designed the feature, because we knew at one point we did want to bring it to our phones. So the Edge point of view, first off, is that we wanted to have note-taking feel natural and be part of the user's flow. So we knew that users today already had ways in which they would take notes on web pages, and very often this took the form of copying a link into an email and then writing your notes in that email and sending it to people. So for example, let's say a wedding dress scenario where users are shopping at different web pages, they paste all those different links into an email, and then for each link they'll start writing down, look at the third dress, I like the back of that dress. Look at the fourth dress, I like the color of that dress. And so one, it's not very efficient for the person writing that email, and then on the other end of it, the person receiving that email, it isn't efficient for them either. They constantly have to go back and forth between the browser and check to see what those notes are. So we knew we wanted to give the users a way to write their notes directly on the web page and part of the flow that they're already using. And we wanted to make sure that note-taking in Edge helped you feel more productive. So again, the email scenario, that's a lot of steps. We wanted to reduce the number of steps and make you feel like you could really do more with your browser than you currently can today. And we wanted to also make sure that the experience we created was fun and engaging. Oftentimes we see things that even if it helps the user be more productive on a daily basis, if it isn't fun, people don't really want to use the product unless it completely changes the way they're working today. So we wanted to make sure that there was something there that got people at least to come in and try it, and then hopefully kept them coming back to continue using the features. So with regards to natural, we wanted to allow users to take notes in the path that they're currently using today. So we know that a user goes to a web page, starts reading an article, then maybe halfway through the article, they realize, oh, this is really interesting, I really care about this, I want to take notes on the article now. So this is why we put the WebNote icon in the frame that you see on the left, highlighted by the red box, so that at any point, no matter what web page they're on, they could click that icon and start taking notes. So even if they're halfway down the web page, they would click the icon, and we wouldn't refresh the web page on them. They could just start taking notes right then and there. We also wanted to make sure that the way we chose to freeze the web page felt very natural to people. So we had two main concerns when freezing the web page. Is one, we wanted it to look exactly as it did when the user was on the web page. We didn't want the layout to update, we didn't want elements to go missing, and we wanted to make sure that it was fast. So we didn't want users waiting around for even 5 seconds to start annotating. We wanted it to be under a second before they could start taking their notes. So they really felt like they were annotating on the web page itself and not a copy of the web page. And then part of this natural promise was we also wanted users to be able to take notes on any type of content that we rendered in Edge. We didn't want them to think, well, actually, as some of you may or may not know, the Edge is the default PDF reader for Windows 10. So we didn't want users to have to think about, is this a web page, is this the PDF, can I take notes on this or not? For our V1, we actually did not meet this promise. We weren't able, due to time restraints, allow users to annotate on PDFs in the browser, but this is something that it is in our plan to be able to enable. And then we wanted anybody to be able to take notes. So this is meaning for visually impaired users or keyboard-only users, we also wanted to give them an experience that they thought was great. So this is something that we thought about when designing the product, and it's something that we're actively working on now to make even better than what we already have out there. And then when it came to the productive promise, we wanted to make sure that the note-taking tools were intuitive and easy to use. So, like I said, the idea of writing on the web was complicated for users, so we wanted to keep it simple for our V1 to just get them used to being able to do this. And then the plan is to continue to elaborate on these tools and give them even more options. So we gave them the ability to ink with a pen, to ink with a highlighter. There's an eraser tool to be able to undo those changes. We also gave users the ability to type their comments on the web page in little pop-up notes. And we gave them the option to clip the web page. So they could either clip the web page without any notes on it, or they could clip the web page with their notes. So if they didn't want to save the full entire web page or share the full entire web page, they could get a section of it. And then along with the productive customer promise is we want to make sure that these notes were quick and easy to get back to. So we gave users, as part of our V1, 3 options. One was to save the notes to OneNote, and then there's the 2 other options that save the note within the browser to their favorites or their reading list. So it was important for us to allow users to save their notes to OneNote because 1, it's a Microsoft product, and 2, we know that OneNote users collect most of the content that they put into OneNote from the browser. So we want to make sure that our users that are already using our products and using OneNote have a very easy way to take something that they authored in the browser and save it to OneNote as well. And then for favorites and reading lists, it was really important to us to give the users the option to save something into the browser directly, because they create it in the browser, and oftentimes wherever the user goes to create, that's where they go back to see it again. And we also knew that people already had a very set way of how they create favorites in the browser. So a lot of people are very organized in the sense that they might have a recipes folder where they save all their recipes that they find online and love. So we wanted them to have the ability, if they try out a new recipe and they decide, well, instead of using 1 cup of sugar, I really only need to use half a cup of sugar, they can make those changes on the web page directly and save it to that same folder where they store all their recipes, rather than having multiple places that they have to go back to these things. So we didn't want them to have to remember, oh, I took notes on that one, so now it's saved over here, or I didn't, so that's why it's saved over here. We wanted to give them one place to keep everything. And then the last promise is fun. So part of that enabling a fun experience was letting users use ink to jot down their thoughts. So instead of, if I wanted to ask a colleague to come to the Annotate conference with me, I would normally copy and paste the link into an email and ask them, do you want to attend this conference? But this way I can write in my own handwriting, make it very personal, choose the color of my ink, and ask people, do you want to go? And then see the response they get. And so it was important to us to enable a more creative approach to note-taking. And then as part of the fun, we want to make sure that sharing these notes to social media was quick and easy. So that's why we included the share button that you see highlighted by the red box over on the left. And so that uses our Windows share system, and this way people can quickly post these things to Facebook and Twitter within our Edge experience. And so basically that's the point of view that we use to create this new experience. And I wanted to talk to you today about what we've been seeing out there now that people have been using this for almost a year now. And so these numbers are for the past 28 days. So in the past 28 days, 8.2 million people have created a web note. And then in the past 28 days, we have 306,000 active web note users, which means that they create 5 or more web notes in 28 days. So even though we would love these numbers to be even bigger, we knew going into this, it being a V1, that we wouldn't get everyone on board. It takes time for them to adopt a new process. So we're actually really happy with the numbers we have here. And then one piece of data that actually surprised us was which tools the users were using to create their notes. So we actually thought that typing notes in a comment would be the most used tool that we have, considering that most people have desktops and don't have touch-enabled devices or pen-enabled devices. But actually, pen wins by a big margin. So it's over 30% of our users use pen, or less than 5% of our users are using the type note tool. And because we enabled pen on desktop, you could ink with a mouse, you could ink with touch, or you could ink with pen. I think that helped. But it's interesting to see that more people chose to use the personal approach to typing notes rather than just typing notes directly on a web page. And then the other thing we're seeing is that I want to show you is the top domains that people are taking notes on. So the number one domain we have here is Microsoft.com. So it's not that people are going to our websites and taking notes on Microsoft.com. The reason that one is so high is that our first run experience, so the first web page you see when you launch Edge, is hosted on Microsoft.com. And one of the things that we feature on that first run page is creating web notes. So right then and there, when you launch Edge for the first time, we tell you that we have this experience, we tell you to try out the button, so lots of people are doing that, and that's why that one's so high. But after that, you see websites like Facebook and YouTube are very high on the list, which shows us that doing this in a on social websites is something that really interests users. And then after that, we see a lot of search engines. And what we see people doing on the search engines is on the search results that they get for a specific query, they're actually highlighting or circling the top web pages that they see are as being relevant and sharing those out. So those were some of the interesting feedback we've gotten from users. On top of this, one of the most resounding pieces of feedback that we hear time and time again is actually for more personalization, more options that are creative, so like more ink colors, pen sizes, different kinds of pens. That's really what people have been asking us for, being able to put shapes on the page, a ruler. So we're moving forward, we really want to invest in the ink options for annotations, and we also really want to invest in trying to make this a more natural approach and put ourselves more in people's flow so that we can gain more and more users. So that is the point of view that Microsoft has for annotating web pages, and if any of you have questions, I would love to hear them. Thank you. Yeah.
Do you collect the information that you get from that? Like if I annotate something, do you use that information, like to make it searchable, for example?
So you mean, do we collect the annotations that people are producing? So no, so the information that we get around what people are using it for actually comes from what they're posting on Twitter. That's how we see what people are creating, because when you post on Twitter, if you don't go change the title, we put in Microsoft Edge web note, so people know that it's a web note. So when we search for that, we can actually see the web notes that people are creating. That's how we know.
I'm asking because this is basically like extending OneNote in a way, right? Mm-hmm. Well, right, sort of. And there everything is searchable, audio and stuff. Like I kind of really like that it doesn't always work, right? But at least someone is trying to do it, and that's really cool. So does this continue, this kind of thought?
So do you mean that if I wrote something on the web page to be able to search it on web notes and find my notes? So it doesn't currently do that today. That is something that we're looking into, to be able to search through all your ink across Windows 10 so that you can find notes more quickly. But cool. Yeah, it doesn't currently work today. Thanks.
I have a question about the how you are approaching the dynamicity of web pages. So a lot of the top sites that you've showed that were annotated are actually showing pages that could be different from one user to another, say they are in different countries. And have you noticed some problem with that, or how much are you reliant on caching everything as soon as someone annotates a page, so that before they share it to their friends who actually might see something different?
Yeah, so what we actually do today is we take a screenshot of the web page so that we can save it. So the reason we did that was, one, if we take a screenshot, it will continue to look exactly how you see it today, and then two, it was really fast. And so when we take a screenshot, we don't only take it of the viewport, we take whatever was above that you've already scrolled through, and we grab whatever's below, we grab as much as we possibly can, so that if you're already in the web note mode, you could scroll and continue to read and keep annotating. You don't have to keep jumping in and out of the experience. We did look into freezing HTML. That's something that we're interested in doing, but at the time, because of our resource constraints and we wanted it to ship with Windows 10, we decided to go with the screenshot route. Yeah. Yes.
Thanks. Freezing as HTML, is that on your plans for the future?
It's something we're looking into. It depends on what we find, whether or not we'll actually go implement it. I don't know, but it's something we're interested in.
Yeah, it could be really useful for educational purposes.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, yeah. Are you planning to freeze HTML in the future? The answer was looking into it. I'm saying that it would be really useful for educational purposes. That kind of real annotation that could be edited and so on. Thanks.
Yes.
Thanks.
Hi. Do you have any accessibility concerns about the screenshot approach? So if you were using a screen reader, then the original web page would have been able to be read aloud, but it's very hard to read text out of an image.
Yes, so we definitely have accessibility concerns when it comes to a screenshot. That's one of, I mean, even though freezing HTML I think would be a better user experience for everybody, it's especially a better user experience for our accessibility users. So when we shipped our V1, we did make it accessible for you to add a note on the page, but because it's a screenshot, you could just add a note to the website itself and not link it to a specific piece of content or place it exactly where you want it to. We're taking some steps right now to correct that behavior so that users have a way to place it exactly where they want the note to be. But it still only gets us part of the way there. And if we really want to create a great, accessible experience for everybody, we do have to do the freezing HTML.
Are people republishing their notes with the original snippet, like on their blogs or something else?
So I haven't seen that happen. Usually what we see most is people emailing their notes to friends, family, coworkers, and then publishing them, posting them up on Facebook and Twitter is what we see most, yeah. I guess that's it. Thank you.